Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Up now, we have the power of authenticity, sustainability in toys. Our presenter is Kristin Morency, Goldman. Kristin?
Hello. Oh, this is on. Great. So my name is Kristin Morency Goldman. I'm the Senior Director of Strategic Communications at the Toy Association, moderating today's panel. I'm here with Bryan Mundell, founder of Adventerra Games, Craig Skinner, Director of Sustainability at Crayola, and Jessica Jama from Hand to Mind. Just to give a little bit of context on this discussion, earlier this year, the Toy Association named Be Authentic as one of the top toy trends of 2023. And this is really about the rise of those conscious consumers who are really seeking out not only terrific play value from their toys, but they want to support companies that are enacting positive change in the world. We recently did a survey. We found that 45% of parents under the age of 40 are actually prioritizing sustainability when looking for toys for their kids. So it's a really important topic. To introduce our panelists, we have Bryan, who founded the Switzerland-based Adventerra Games in 2009. He leveraged his experience as a professor, specialized in game design, his role as a father, lover of the outdoors, to create a game line to really introduce kids and families to important environmental topics in a really fun and engaging way. We have Craig from Crayola here, Director of Sustainability. He's been with Crayola for 25 years. Over the last 2 years, he's led Crayola's sustainability initiative, really focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions as part of the company's goals. For Crayola, the journey towards sustainability has been a decades-long effort. They've been focused on recycling, limiting waste from factories, and leveraging solar power in the creation of children's art products. Then I have Jessica here. She's a product manager at Hand to Mind, which is part of the family of toy companies that includes educational insights and learning resources. They all factor in environmentally friendly practices in their products, from product creation, manufacturing, to packaging and shipping. Jessica focuses on social emotional learning in her product development. She brings to the table her degree in child development with a specialization in infant care, and she also worked as an educator for 5 years before joining Hand to Mind. So I'm going to jump into our questions now. My first question is for Bryan. I'm really interested in hearing about your perspective as an entrepreneur who not only built this toy company from the ground up, but you really had sustainability at the core of your company. So what were your guiding principles in terms of being both a sustainable and an educational company?
That's great. Thank you very much. Well, I founded Adventerra Games when I lived in Italy in essentially it was 2002, and the goal was, since I had a bad encounter with air pollution, destroyed my immune system, and I switched gears and wanted to make games for the planet. And I wanted those games to be both sustainable in terms of the materials we used. So we started with Knauf paper and went to recycled paper, soy ink. We were really careful about the social standards as well, and went into the production of the games. So the materials were really important, and we said that from the very beginning, from the first game that came out in 2003. But we also really focused on games with environmental content. So by learning to play the game, when you playing, your sort of barriers to learning are down, and you can absorb messages like how to save water at home, how to save energy, how to do your recycling properly, and how to reduce your greenhouse gases. So the environmental content is still what makes us largely unique in the industry. We have a line of 15 games in this content, and I'm really happy to see that the materials have really gotten a lot of traction in the industry in the last 8 years and been accelerated since COVID. So, we were early leaders in that, but I want everybody to do that, and I'm really proud of that. on the content, or on on the content, I'm really happy to know that in the last couple of years there have been a few new games with environmental content, focused on environmental content. So I look forward to all of you to start producing games because I love the competition. I want to see the competition.
And now that you're going on, it's been, well over 10 years that you've been in this business. How have your priorities sort of shifted or changed since when you first started out to how you're looking ahead in your development of product?
Well, certainly we learned a lot, because although I had been designing informal games for my own use since the 1970s, really, and in my teaching I've been designing games, I didn't know the first thing about creating a game with packaging or anything else. And so my first game looked like this. And I remember traipsing around the United Nations, asking permission, getting all the bureaucrats to allow us to use the UN Water Year logo, and I had great success in that. But we really depended a lot on qualitative feedback and quantitative feedback from school kids, their parents. I mean, we gathered a lot of data, and that helped us to learn how to make more effective games that achieved our educational objectives. Our latest game is Mission Ocean, which is really much more, attractive, to the point where we managed, 2 weeks ago, I got the news we'd won the Play for Change Award, the gold medal, which was very satisfying in the sustainability category for this game. And that was our first draft of the game, whereas before it would take us 2 or 3 drafts of the game to really get it right. So that's one thing that's changed, really. So I'm really pleased about that. I'm also pleased, if I can, 10 seconds more, the silver winner in this was Lego for their packaging, for changing their packaging from plastic to paper. And I want to congratulate Lego, because in the immediate, they're going to do a lot more for the environment than we are in the immediate. But my hope is that Mission Ocean will be worth it too. So I'm very excited about them on the materials side.
Great. So moving over to Craig and Crayola, what are some current initiatives that Crayola is working on in terms of sustainability?
Thank you. Crayola's been around for a long, long time, and we've had a rich history in sustainability. You might have known us as Binney and Smith many years ago. Edwin Binney, who founded us, was an environmentalist. And when we first started making our very first crayons in Easton, Pennsylvania, we used a water wheel to do that with. Since then, we've had a lot of initiatives that we've done, especially in the last 10, 11 years. 11 years ago, we, in our Easton facility, where we make all our crayons and a majority of our markers in Easton, Pennsylvania, we installed a 20-acre, 33,000 panel solar field, which generates electricity directly into our manufacturing facility. That was electricity that before we used to get from the grid, like pretty much every other manufacturer. In 2019, we increased our investments in renewable energy by buying solar certificates equal to the amount of all electricity consumption within our Lehigh Valley facilities. So when you buy a box of crayons today, you'll see powered by the sun, because we've directly and indirectly making all our products with solar energy. Something we're very proud of. We've done a number of initiatives in addition to this. Just this past year, we found a way to work with a recycler on any manufacturing scrap to the tune of 300,000 markers that used to be defects but are now being recycled now for commercial use. A majority of our packaging is paperboard, and that paperboard is either one of two things. It's either recycled with post-consumer and post-industrial, or it's made from wood from certified forest, primarily FSC. We've been a Giga Guru status for Walmart. If anybody sells to Walmart, they have a sustainability program, and we've been at the highest rating with Walmart for a many number of years, and we'll continue to do so. We're doing a number of things behind the scenes that we hope to be able to do something better. We are now also participating in something called the Science-Based Target Initiative. It's part of a broader NGO that's part of the United Nations and in concert with the Paris Accord, where companies sign up and they agree to significantly reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. And Crayola and our parent company, Hallmark, have signed up for that. So by 2030, we got a lot of work to do to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, pretty much about 30% of where they are now. So it's a lot of work ahead, and it's a very exciting field.
Great. So Crayola has obviously been at this for a long time. Do you have any advice for companies of a similar size who might not be where Crayola is but wants to get in there and reduce their environmental impact?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways. If you sell to Walmart, Walmart has a really good program where they basically encourage their suppliers to behaviors that will be good for the environment. The number one thing that we believe is the most important is reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, because that's the real crisis of our current era. And the way to really do that is through products, lightweighting your products, modifying them to be less plastic. If you can't get rid of plastic, do plastics that are less carbon intensive. And if you do get involved in the science part of this, we work with a life cycle assessment tool, which is a fancy word of almost a spreadsheet to calculate the carbon impact of your product. So I would encourage you to look into that and buy into that, because it'll give you insights into your company that you really haven't had before by analyzing your product at a very basic raw material level.
Great, thank you. So Jessica, I'd like to learn a bit more about Hand to Mind's core sustainability initiatives, and also how a product's life cycle really factors into that and into development.
Yeah, so we're doing a couple different things. This year we actually we're calling it the Top 100 Product Project. So we're looking at our top 100 products across all three brands, and we're going back and re-quoting them with factories to reduce single-use plastic. We no longer use cling wrap around boxes. We try to reduce using zip-top baggies for activity cards. Instead, we'll wrap them in a paper band to help save plastic wherever we can. So we're doing that with our products, but we also look at our warehouses and how we can help in that way. So all of our shipper boxes are made with recycled cardboard, and then the bubble that comes in to kind of protect the product is made from recycled plastic. So those are little ways that we're going back and rethinking things and trying to help with sustainability. But when it comes to the life cycle of a product, we make our products that are built to last. We want them to last generation after generation. We want them to be very durable. One perfect example is that even before I was born, my mother ran a child care center in our home, and she still has the Learning Resources red cash register from over 30 years ago, and now my nieces and nephews play with it. So it's perfect. Our products last years and years. They get handed down. They get passed to neighbors, passed to friends. They go back and forth. So we really look for that in our products. We don't often like to do things that you use it once and you throw it away. So we want it to last for a long time.
Great. And then what are some innovative ways that your brands have incorporated sustainability that not only reduces the environmental impact, but adds to the play value of the toy for the child?
Yeah, great question. So one of my favorite things that our Educational Insights company did was with their Design and Drill line. So their Design and Drill line comes in this beautiful packaging. They're pizza-style boxes that open up, and the packaging can fully open up, and it creates a play scene for the toy that comes in the box. So if you get the Design and Drill rocket ship, the box opens up and it has a launch pad for the rocket ship to sit on. It's this beautiful 2-color printing on it, and it has little people and a little scene. It just really adds to that play for the child and helps with their imagination. And then they can use and reuse that box and not just throw it away.
That's awesome. Love it. So moving back to Bryan, Adventerra founded in, was it Switzerland, or was it?
No, founded originally in Italy.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, Italy, well, in Europe. Let's just say Europe for now. So how did you find the transition when you moved into the North American market? And did you have to kind of adapt your offerings for this new consumer?
Sure, we did. I built the business in the first 10 years in Italy and then Switzerland, largely based on sponsored projects. So an electric utility would buy 1,000 copies of the game. The Milan Garbage Company bought 5,000 copies, and they helped us design it by providing content to educate the people of Milan how to sort their recyclables properly. And we built the business primarily on that, and it's only been recently that we've developed a line of games to be sold directly to families, and that was part of moving into the U.S. It was a coincidence that we opened in the U.S. Just before COVID, and at the time we started a new line of preschool games, because up to that all of our games were for elementary, middle school, and high school. And so we've had to adapt to that. I think in the U.S., I would say that we've gotten a phenomenal, let's say, reception from the National Science Teacher Association people in the educational line. In the U.S., we've had a little more challenging time with some of our older games over the issues of climate change, because although I agree with our other panelists that the most important challenge of our time is reducing greenhouse gases, not every American sees that way. It's much more polarized politically here than it is in Europe. Europe, it's pretty much a consensus. So those have been two of the differences, really.
And how would you maybe address that particular challenge, or have you figured that out?
Well, the first thing is addressing the challenge with games for smaller kids. And I've been really inspired this particular conference because I've walked around and I have seen that there's a huge attention now as games as agents of therapy or tools for therapy. And eco-anxiety is a real problem because kids see these horrible image of what the earth is like now, today, with forests and floods and everything, and it's going to get 10 times, 20 times worse in 40 years, and that can lead to anxiety and phobias. Many psychologists are telling me that just walking around today. And so our games are the cure for that because they empower kids to really feel like they can do something by changing their behaviors at home. And so I think that's going to be my strategy, to try and deal with the fear of climate change by giving people the tools they need to change their lives and make a difference. The difference has to come not just from big companies like Crayola, which are doing a magnificent job, but it's also got to come bottom up from consumption behaviors, right? So carrying a water bottle and refilling it instead of buying plastic water every time you want to get a drink.
Yeah.
Just for example.
Great. So Craig, how does Crayola balance business goals with product innovation and with sustainability?
Really, it's not as difficult as it might first sound. A lot of people, when we first approached sustainability, thought it would be just a huge, they call it a green premium. But a lot of times, if you look at sustainability, what improves a product or a company's footprint is by reducing and eliminating. So eliminate unwanted packaging, eliminated materials that consumers really don't need or want, eliminate things that just aren't needed. And for things that are needed, look at lightweighting. The quickest way to get to a more sustainable product is by reducing that, reducing the material necessary to produce it. We've made, over the last 10 years, we've made changes in our markers. Every time a mold went down, we created a new mold, which, imperceptible to the consumer, reduced plastic. And I think we're at 2 million pounds of plastic reduced in the current design from the old design. Now that is not a trade-off. That's a great trade-off. It's a win-win. You basically improve the amount of plastic you're using in your product, and you actually reduce costs by the amount of plastic needed to make it. So I would challenge folks to think about it a little bit differently and say, hey, how do I use this as a win-win, a win for the consumer and a win for my bottom line? Because I think it is doable.
Great. And then looking at that child consumer, is Crayola doing anything to sort of involve or educate children in being more sustainable? Or
Yeah, we work with schools quite closely. In fact, the first 50 years of our company, we didn't sell to retailers, we just sold into schools. And our company was originally founded by Edwin Binney, whose wife was an art teacher, and that's how he actually started making crayons. We still have that real close ties with schools today. What we do is we create educational content because art materials are a tool for communication, and that tool for communication can teach art, it can teach science, it can teach math, it can teach literacy. So we're using those tools to teach sustainability. So maybe not the people in this room, but our art educators and art educators have access to content and tools that we give to them free to teach students about the importance and the science aspects of sustainability.
great. And similar question for you, Jessica. How is your company teaching those environmental factors to children through the toys?
Yeah, so we have a couple different sustainable specific products. We have this line of 100% recycled pattern blocks, and there's a couple different categories. One of the categories is always all about recycling and conservation. So it teaches kids the difference in the bins that you put your recycling into and how to just be better to the planet, kinder to the planet. We have to take care of this planet. Like you were saying, it's going to look so much different in 10 years than it does now. So teaching those kids not only how to be a kind human to each other, but how to be a kind human to the animals and the plants and the grass and everything around us. And it all starts with reduce, reuse, recycle.
And do you see, I was interested in what Bryan said before about that connection between the, I guess it would be like the social, emotional learning aspect, and I know you specialize in that as well. How does that tie into like being green and teaching those kind of eco-friendly
Yeah, definitely.
ideas?
I mean, it's the same. It's just you have to be kind to everyone, and you have to be kind to the environment, and it benefits them, it benefits the environment. Even as simple as a kid, sees a flower and they pluck it out of the ground. Instead, it's really important to teach children, look at the flower, look at the beautiful colors, you can smell the flower, but maybe we leave it in the ground because maybe it's a flower that will produce other flowers, or maybe it's a flower that helps the bees, things like that.
And is there anything that you've worked on recently or that you designed recently that you're particularly excited about or you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. So I want to say maybe it was about a year ago, we came out with a product called the Tactile Turtles. So it's a set of turtle counters that have all these different attributes on them. So on the backs of their shells, they have some different textures. There's a smooth one, a bumpy one, and then they have shapes on their bellies, great for math. But also with those, they come with activity cards that work you through different sorting activities. And then it teaches you a little bit about the environment and caring for the turtles, different types of turtles, and kind of where they live and how they contribute to the environment. And it's made from 100% recycled plastic, so that's great because if we're going to make a product about the turtles, we should probably use recycled plastic to help save the turtles.
Right. Nice. I love that. We have a little bit more time. I don't know if any of you, if I didn't address anything that you would like to mention. Yep. Use your mic.
2 quick points I'd like to make. The first is our best-selling game in the U.S. is a game called Hungry Bins, which teaches you how to recycle 3 to 5-year-olds. And trying to speculate as to why it's our best-selling game. And, Americans seem to want to do recycling because it seems like an easy way that they can feel better about themselves. The problem, though, is that most cities do single-source recycling, and so Americans don't have that opportunity. They just dump everything in a recycling center, and the city hires other people to do the sorting. So in Europe, it's very different. In Europe, citizens have to actually sort their recycling. And the second thing is that there's a lot of desire among ordinary Americans who maybe don't work for companies that are as virtuous on the environment as these two are. And they feel a bit guilty about that. And aside from changing jobs, they're wondering what they can do. I took a game Global Warning to Gen Con, the gamers convention. I had 3 tables of oil company executives just having a blast because they were so relieved that they could figure out how they could change their personal life to kind of make them feel better about what they were doing.
That's great. And I love that it's just going all the way from the kids all the way up to the adults there. Like the learning can happen, even later. Yeah, that's great. Anything else, Craig? No?
I mean, the only other thing that I'd encourage folks to do is, and Bryan was talking about recycling. If you haven't signed up for How to Recycle, it's a nonprofit organization. They have the little tiles that they put on packaging. That's going to become more mandatory, especially among larger retailers. Walmart is making that an importance. And it's a really good way of having third-party authentication on the recyclability of your packaging. So I would encourage people to sign up for that. And if you do want to get involved in the sustainability thing, the company that runs it, a company called Green Blue, sponsors it. It's a terrific company, and they sponsor some conferences which are quite good in the area of sustainability.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we just keep having the conversation and we keep talking about sustainability with each other, with children, keep educating people who aren't as educated as others. We're all still learning. It's such a new thing that we're trying in the toy industry. And a couple of years ago, when we started reaching out to our vendors to learn about their recycled capabilities, a lot of them didn't have any. And now it's so much easier for us to reach out to vendors, and a lot of them have different recycled materials or different natural materials that they can offer for our products. So it is getting better, and I think it's because we keep asking and we keep talking about it and we keep telling them that it's important to us. So the world is changing, the toy industry is changing, and I think it's because we keep talking about it. So we just have to keep talking about it.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you to my two panelists for what their companies are doing.